hello, one and all. It's Drinker and Mauler. We're here with you. Or should I say Long Ken? He's keeping it going. It's great. I should have kept mine, actually. It was special. All the Kens united.
Good time.
Yeah, it was good indeed. And, well, hey, we got loads of super chats that came in on the night. We couldn't get through them all, so this seems like the perfect time to answer them now. So let's just get fired right in. I know you got a bunch of questions for us, so let's see what we got. Taylor Ramirez says, do not trust the cheese. Good advice.
All right, yeah, fair enough.
And that's it for this evening. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you there.
Did it. Nailed it.
That's perfect. KP Luki says, in my alcohol-induced fever dream, please explain to me how Barbie is actually doing well and considered good. Is it culture war BS? We're still scratching our heads on it a little bit. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to explain this one. It's going to be something that future generations of marketing executives look back on and just say, yeah, they did a good job with that one.
That's interesting. I have heard, didn't the marketing budget, I saw an article about it, it cost more than the budget.
I wouldn't have been surprised because they marketed the hell out of this movie. In the lead up to it, it was just everywhere. You know, billboards, commercials, like all over YouTube and stuff. Like, and you know, even when you go to the cinema, they've got the big, like Barbie, cardboard cutout things that you can get your picture taken in. It's like, yeah, they just went all out promoting this one. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that they spent a lot on it. So I guess that's part of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
427 Rbox says you may fascinate a mauler by giving him a piece of cheese. Is that true? Can you verify?
I mean, I guess it depends on the cheese. Yeah, I could be fascinated by cheese.
Cool. There's a lot to talk about on the cheese front, but we'll save that for another day. Troy Manser, and this was for 50 Canadian dollars, so thank you. Says, cheers to you and the mods. Keep the good shows coming. We'll do our best, sir. Thank you very much. Rune says, recommend you check out Beef on Netflix. I've heard about Beef, but I don't know. Like, some people said it was a bit crap. Others seem to quite like it. I don't know what the deal is with Beef.
Heard of it, yeah.
Martha S says, I can barely handle the Kenergy.
Nice.
Carrier, a Raccoon City story, says, cheers, Drinker and crew. Just another shout out that episode 2, Right Place, Wrong Time for Carrier is dropping next Friday, August 4th. Familiar Resident Evil faces and new faces can be expected. Excellent stuff, man, and I'll look forward to watching that because I've very much enjoyed the stuff that you put out so far. And I just love that sort of Max Payne style graphic novel format with the voiceovers and everything. Like, it just looks so cool. And the fact that it's based around like Resident Evil 2 just makes it awesome. Wolf Vermillion says, random question, gun-wise, would you choose an MP5 or a P90? What would you consider more iconic? Yippee-ki-yay. Good question. I would say that the P90 is cooler because it looks more futuristic and it holds more bullets. But the MP5's been around like forever, hasn't it?
I'm trying to think of which one I see more often in movies. I feel like I've seen both of them so much.
I feel like the MP5's going the way of the Uzi. Like, it used to be everywhere in the 80s and 90s, and you don't see it quite so much now.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen a P90, but you're right. A lot of them get used for like sci-fi weapons, or at least they did.
I remember at Stargate SG-1, they started off with MP5s, and then they sort of upgraded to the P90s, and it's like, yeah, they're getting serious now. But yeah, they just look really cool. Roger Rubio says, how bad is Secret Invasion? Even EA Voss at New Rockstars, the shill of the MCU, is doing a 50-minute review of why it was bad. What a time to be alive.
Wow. Swear to God, man. People will be like, oh, this one was bad. And you're like, it was as bad as the rest of them. And they're like, no. I'm pretty sure no.
Didn't IGN turn against it as well and say it's like being absolutely crap and like they did Nick Fury dirty with this one?
It's like I don't even know how to put this, like a half-life of goodwill on the audience. And, it's just everything is shrinking. Like, because if Secret Invasion had come out right after like fucking Endgame or something, I'm sure everyone would have been like, "Oh, it's great, yeah, I love it. Oh, it's awesome. It's MCU content, serious, you know? Oh yeah." Well, but like, come at a time where everyone fucking hates the MCU stuff.
Well, this is it. As one empire falls, another rises, and I guess we're going to have the Barbie MCU moving forward. So yeah, we've got that to look forward to. The Arcadius project says it's baffling to me how goddamn Secret Invasion, it's how god awful Secret Invasion was. I hope they kick the writers to the curb. Okay.
Maybe.
Or just not employ them again. Grand Darkfang says, my brothers in Ken, always remember that we are Kenough. It's great.
True.
Like, the Ken jokes were in chat, and they're also in the super chat, so it's everywhere now. Aurora Uplink says, what? No director Krennic? Hope Rogue One weeps.
I mean, because Ben Mendelsohn gets killed in Secret Invasion.
Right, okay.
Talos. But
like
the director said you might see him come back someday in like a multiverse thing or something.
Can't wait.
But I think he said like we could also have some movies based in the time between Captain Marvel and Secret Invasion where him and Fury are doing things. It's like, what the fuck is it? Shut up. What's going on?
It's like, you know what? Just stop making things. You're not helping the world.
A little bit.
Matt Torres says, Doomcock says that Kathleen Karen Kennedy is locked out of Lucasfilm. Can you confirm this rumor? No.
No.
Who fucking knows at this point? Nick Flag says, hey gents, I have a full script prepared and all the clips I need. I'm struggling with sounding natural in my voice recordings and was wondering if you could share some wisdom. Thanks in advance. So as a YouTuber, what can we tell him?
Friends of mine, when they try to do recordings and they show me, and I'm like, you're only allowed to show me this if you agree that I'm allowed to say whatever I want back to you. Like, I ain't gonna be nice. Okay, they're like, yeah. They're like, okay, so first thing is you sound like you read a script. And it's funny because they'll be like, well, how do I not sound like that? And it's like, you know what you're doing right now? That.
Yeah.
Do that. And then they're like,
talking.
what? And it's like, it's because you're already like in performance mode. And so you start thinking about how you sound, and then you start to try and account for everything. When you normally speak, you're not doing that. And you need to perform like that. It's really strange to try and argue. But you can tell even when listening to my videos that I sound very performed compared to, like live streams. But part of that is my goal to be as clear as possible with everything I'm saying. Meanwhile, I think Drinker, you nailed just coming across as a guy who stumbled into his house and was like, "Oh, hey, this is a stupid movie."
That's because I am.
It's beautiful, and so yeah, it depends on what you're going for specifically, but practice makes perfect. Certainly with this, my first set of recordings were hilarious compared to now because I was like, "Hi, everybody, welcome to." We're going to talk about this today, and then in post I'd be like, I don't know if this is useful or just crap. But
it's to echo what Mower said, just practicing it. Like do multiple takes, listen back to yourself, and just think, okay, do I sound more natural now? Am I heading in the right direction? Then do it again, and until you've got the jitters and the tenseness worked out of your voice. And then you're good to go. It just takes time. You get used to it. You eventually find a rhythm for yourself.
Take it from guys who've been on about 1 billion hours of streams now, that you eventually, that like special nature of like, oh my god, I'm about to project myself to the whole world, that wanes completely, and you're just like, this is just normal.
Yeah.
You just talk.
Yeah, you do get used to it. If I ever listen to like an older video of mine, it's funny how slow I am. Like my cadence is so much slower. Than it is now. It's weird.
Slurring more, like welcome.
Probably. Yeah. The captain says Mauler and Drinker. Wondering if you guys have seen any of Jim Cummings' films. If so, what do you think? If not, I highly recommend Thunder Road. The man makes independent films with great humor and a ton of heart. Cheers. Thank you, and thanks for the recommendation.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen any of his stuff. I'd have to check. What has he made? What's the more popular stuff that he's made?
Let me see.
Director. Let's see what we got here.
Sounds like a porn star name, so I'm kind of wondering what's going to come up here, but... okay. So it's
I think I
up as an
recognize
actor,
him,
actually.
yeah. Did they say Thunder Road was one of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Thunder Road, the beta test, Halloween Kills. Oh, no, that was just as an actor, actually, so... Yeah. Okay. Not on too many sort of big things, but okay.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with him.
Cinema Sermons says, as someone who with under 400 subs with goals to grow, I'll help out the blue collar loser. Right on, dude. Nice. And yeah, we got him over 1,000 subs, so That's all
Yeah.
good. We got to, yeah, he achieved his goal. Sean Di Stefano says, what are 3 literary tools that make good written characters? So, like, which tools are we referencing here? I mean, like,
Tools.
I mean, I guess if I was just to break, list them in broad terms, like, they've got to have an understandable motivation, they've got to have an interesting personality, and ideally, they need to remain consistent in their behavior. I think that's the benchmarks for what I would look for in a well-written character, just the baseline for it.
Yeah, I mean, depending on, because character is pretty broad, right? If I said to you, how should I write Luke Skywalker versus Palpatine, you're going to get very different advice. But that, I mean, remaining consistent with how they're portrayed is like number one for me, and just figure out, ahead of time where you want them to be going, and then try and put everything in line with it. It's because you said like, make sure they're interesting. So I guess to expand on that, you'd be like, try and give them something that makes them special. I was about to say something that makes them interesting, and I was like, oh, that's kind of useless. That'll make them interesting.
It could be anything. It could be a quirky personality. It could be like some unusual element of their backstory. Just something, I guess, that like marks them out as just being more than just an average person. Avery Watkins says, I recently watched Oppenheimer and I loved it. As I've had time to think, you have to understand that it's a Nolan film you're watching and that things will be done unorthodoxly. Also, it could have been cut better. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I mean, that's a fair take. I guess I don't quite hold with this view of like, well, it's a Nolan film or it's a Rian Johnson film or whoever else, or it's a J.J. Abrams film. And that kind of excuses certain things that happen in it. It's like, well, no, it should still be good. Like, that's my benchmark for any film. And, yes, Nolan's got his quirks as a director, but we know from like older movies, he's able to have those quirks reined in a little bit so that they don't overshadow the quality of the film. But yeah, like with a lot of directors, like I guess Taika Waititi is an extreme example. Like if there's no one around to stop him in his madness, then like he'll just ruin his own movies. Like yeah, you need a little bit of that restraint on Christopher Nolan sometimes. But yeah, I'm not comparing him to Taika Waititi, just in case anyone asks. Derek says, I thought it would be hilarious if Barbie gradually turned into a horror movie. It sounds like it kind of did. I mean, you could definitely recut it. Oh, is Mauler drowning his sorrows? I just hear liquid pouring. It's like we're talking about Barbie.
Listen, you reference Barbie, you reference this horrible ending. What am I supposed to
do? A writer with no name says, what did y'all think of Ben Shapiro? Dumb review? Don't know, haven't seen it. I know he spent about 40 or 50 minutes.
If you did like a video or an interview, or was it just like a text? I don't remember what like exists.
I think it's a video review, a produced video review. So
okay.
It's just always funny when these like political or cultural commentators start trying to talk about movies. Like
every time it feels like they're totally out of their element. Because the thing about our
Tim
jobs,
Pool does it sometimes, and it's just he's got some bad takes.
We get so much information about individual writers and directors and producers and heads of whatever companies, alongside knowledge that projects that come in for years ahead of them coming out, and then we find out about delays, behind the scenes mishaps, and everything that's going on with the company, obviously box office numbers, and then all these films actually seeing them and ripping them apart and connecting them back to old stuff. And then you have someone walk in the room and say a bunch of stuff. You're like, no. Who are you? Like, and they're like, yeah. I'm a politicsman. And you're like,
oh. Good stuff. Ultra says, I recommend you watch Broken Trail. It's an authentic look at the old west of America and the troubles and tribulations of the time. Okay, thanks for the recommendation. Papa Piker says, in the ABC News interview, Robbie and Gerwig say that they purposely made the script a mess just to get it past Mattel's approval process.
I had a
feeling. 3 problems gets pushed back. 100 problems is too much for one meeting. I mean, that's a bold strategy, that.
In the theory that the Mattel like company manager man, Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
They have we talked about it like it was a contradiction, and I think that's kind of the way they did it to get past Mattel, right? So they got a scene where it's like there's no women on the company board, And he's like, yeah, but we love women. We've had a woman CEO before, and there was one in like the 90s. That's like 2 women that worked for the company. So that we know what's being said there, but maybe explicitly in the script, the Mattel people were like, that's strange. Like, so is he on it? And then later on, they're like, so we're making loads of money off the Ken stuff. And he's like, damn you, we must make more things for little girls. We got to inspire them. And he seems like a cartoon idiot he's got his problem is like the internalized sexism stuff, right? Like he says and does things that are rude and implements things in a way that it's like, oh, I get him. And then Mattel, I think, when seeing someone like that, would be like, so he does like women. He's not a sexist. And they'd be like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. Yeah, he's chill. And it's very fucking confusing. And I think they did that on purpose so that they could slip by. Because a lot of people have said, like, this is clearly, an insane film on behalf of the fact that why would Mattel want this? And it's like, I don't even know that they fully understood what the fuck was happening in this film. A lot of us haven't.
Do you think, because you know how the media changed their tune over time with Rings of Power, for example? Like, they were pretending that it was amazing, and it was like, what was that amazing like line where it's like, oh, it makes House of the Dragon look like a fucking amateur hour or something.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like, a few months down the line, when the dust had settled, you get articles saying, like, oh, can we just all admit now that Rings of Power was really crap? And it's just like, I don't know, do they feel like they just have to support it and they just have to pretend that it's really good for the time being? Because, I don't know, it achieves their aims or aligns with their beliefs or whatnot. And then further down the line, they'll just be like, yeah, the movie kind of sucked.
Well, are you asking, like, do you think this will happen with Barbie, or?
Yeah. Do you think it's a possibility, or do you think they're always going to stick with the line that it was amazing?
I think nobody actually liked Rings of Power, so that was easy for it to fall apart. Barbie, as far as I'm aware, there are many people who love this thing, especially considering the box office.
Yeah.
I think there are people out there who would argue to you, actually, no, this is the most fun I've had in a movie all year. And you'd be like, oh.
Yeah, it's like, you clearly need to see more movies.
I know.
Avery Watkins says, also, the ending is horrifying and beautiful, and walking out, it seemed to me that this will be a film to look back on. I don't know if you're talking about Barbie.
I assume Oppenheimer.
Dialogue was rough too, but Downey was amazing.
There you go.
Yeah. Jan Habi says, Sitch and Adams' debate with Doomer on Barbie is hilarious. I think Sitch was utterly confused on what the movie was trying to say. I felt the same way.
It's kind of interesting, right? Because I think Sitch would say this too, that, yeah, he was confused, but it was pretty clear in some parts. Some of it, I got the message loud and clear. I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I follow. Some of it, I don't think you're allowed to really misinterpret. They were pretty explicit. It's like, I gotcha.
Yeah. Pirate Queen says, I've always said that those who want women to run the world have never worked in an office full of women. I would rather work with men any day. Fair enough.
Wow, sexisms.
Yeah. I've, like, in my working life, I've always had mixed offices, and I've had male and female bosses, and it's always a mix. Some are assholes, some are not. There's no particular, like, dividing line for men and women, I don't think.
The nightmare job I had that I told a bunch of stories about before, 4 managers hated essentially all of them, except one who was a woman, and she was the most competent out of the 4 as well. The other 3 were lads who did not give a fuck.
Istari Azul says, do you think Warner Brothers might make Barbie part of DCU and send her on adventures with Wonder Woman? Do you think such a project could draw the modern audience? Sure, why not? Do it. Have Ben Affleck there in an increasingly shit series of Batsuits, because that seemed to be where they went with the Flash.
Yeah.
Big Man says, the marketing team deserves a raise for Barbie. Yep, they do. Bogdan Anichescu says, Barbie has 86% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Would you still use this metric to support your arguments or not? You can't just use it when it's convenient. No, I mean, I guess not. Like, I don't know what the overall one is, because I think if you divide it between verified and not...
I think I just said that it's clear people like Barbie. There's no denying that. This isn't Secret Invasion where everybody fucking hates it. But, whether or not everyone or no one or some people hate or like it doesn't actually determine the thing is good. It just sort of helps you understand its cultural position. And as has baffled many people, Barbie apparently is king of the fucking box office this year.
So if you put it to all audience, it's 74%, but still pretty solid. So,
for the record, I don't
know.
think a drinker has ever said a movie is bad because the Rotten Tomatoes is low. Like, that's not. Nobody ever uses aggregate sites like that, or at least I don't recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, what I tend to use is this thing located inside my skull. That's what I use to judge whether or not a movie's good. And yeah, like sometimes it's interesting when there's a massive divide between, say, the professional critics and the audience. But in this case, something interesting is happening with this film. So yeah, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say, man.
Mm-hmm.
Dragonic Ice Mage says, I would hate to see the baby doll equivalent of Barbie World if destroying the toy in the real world does damage to them in the toy world. Yeah, we discussed that on stream, and yeah, it's a horrifying prospect.
Yeah.
Mr. Silver says, Mauler, some people might agree with the whole movie message. How would you change their hearts and minds? Why is the message bad objectively?
I don't know that. I mean, fundamentally, like a lot of, how would I put this? Like, say the message of Lord of the Rings is friendship is magic. You know, because it is. We shall come together and stop evil and stuff. If someone said like, yeah, well, I don't think that's true. I actually think everyone should be out for themselves and that teamwork is stupid and awful. I'd be like, all right, I guess, yeah, Lord of the Rings wouldn't be for you. It would be something that you wouldn't like. If someone said like, I love the idea that men are, you know, kind of stupid and they gain their value or their self-confidence through women giving them attention, and that as a result of that they will try and sort of trap them in a cage or mansplain to them or sing them songs about how they feel when in reality the song is just about their own vanity. And it's like, and that's men, and men need to do better. Like if they said something like that and that's what they believed, I'd be like, well, yeah, this movie might work for you. Objectively, I suppose you would say that that is present in there. But then the way I would break it down as a poor execution is that there are things in the film that contradict that, and there are things in the film that suggest something else is going on, but that the film is completely unaware of that. That's where I think it's broken. Because if we had a film that was just like, you know what, killing everybody's great, that's just a great thing, and everyone should do it. It's like, I guess you could execute that in a way that's consistent, but then I would argue in meta that's a really awful moral.
I think that's probably the perspective you would have to come at it from. Of like, okay, morally, that's a really crap thing to be teaching people. Like, say, you know, one half of the human race is just fundamentally a bit shit and deserves to be derided and trampled down and should never be, you know, shown any respect or leniency or anything. I would say that's not conducive to harmonious living for humanity. You know, it's just going to stir up, I guess, conflict and resentment.
I think so, yeah.
So, yeah, you could argue from the moral perspective that that's probably a bad message for a movie to be conveying. Derek says, if Game of Thrones Season 8 made sense, who would have ended up on the throne? Good question.
We would have talked about it probably at the time, but like my assumption about Game of Thrones the whole time was that the reality was going to mean all this fighting we did over the throne was fucking pointless, because in the end it was about making a world and protecting the world from the fucking White Walkers. You know, like the existential threat that ultimately we're all human, we're all trying to live our lives, we're all trying to pursuit of happiness and stuff, and maybe we should stop wondering who sits in the fucking chair. That I thought was going to be the point of it, and so I would probably want to end it. I would have to workshop a couple of ideas, but I wouldn't mind ending it before someone sits on the chair. I would probably have it be maybe there was a council or a meeting, or an aftermath of everyone trying to recover these different parts. Like Winterfell is being rebuilt because part of it got destroyed by Southerners with the Northerners, you know, and different countries are being visited and understood, and there's some alliances being made. And then we find out, like, eventually there will be someone sitting on that throne. We're just not entirely sure who it is or what process we're going to use to decide who it should be yet. And that the show ends on a note that ultimately we should be working together.
Yep. I think if I could have picked anyone, it would have been like Tywin or something. Just someone who was like super pragmatic, super like intelligent and experienced and stuff. Like the obvious choice throughout the show was that it was going to be someone like Jon Snow. Clearly that never panned out, but yeah.
Well, he got ruined. Like, I say that as if not everyone did, but
yeah, like, what an assassination of his character. Scarify the Strange says, there is a Dawn of War quote for those of you who thought Barbie wasn't going to be trash. Hope is the first step to disappointment.
Yay!
I did, like I say, and I've said this before on stream and stuff. Like I went into it with no expectations because like I just wasn't even following the movie in the lead up to this. I just expected it to be
Same.
a nothing burger, really, just a sort of fluffy, forgettable, summer flick that people could just enjoy and then forget about.
Seen some
So
people.
I had no idea it would be this.
Seen some people say, and I kind of agree. I was expecting a cross between. I think I said it before. Small Soldiers and Legally Blonde. Something
Yeah.
where I was gonna laugh at some silly jokes that are based on the fact that they're toys and a bunch of references and stuff, and then just fish out of water comedy, just your normal stuff. And then I saw Shad's tweet, and I was like, "What the fuck? What the hell's going on?" And then I watched it, and I went in being like, "It can't be like that silly. Like, I'm sure it's just gonna be normal." And the first, 20 minutes, I was sitting there content. I was just like, yeah, look, she tries to eat stuff and it's not really there. She's drinking stuff, it's not really there, and everyone's sort of robotic and weird, and they all say, "Hi, Bobby, hi, Ken, hi, Bobby, hi, Ken." It's like, what a nightmare world, but funny because they're all used to it. Plastic dolls, whatever. He hits the wave, he goes to the hospital. It's like that's the kind of comedy I was kind of expecting. If the whole movie was that, I would have been like, I don't really care about it. It's fine. But of course, it changes gears.
It certainly does. Sam Wallace Arts says, authority is given by consent of the governed, not by threat of force. Sunnyside could be cool and groovy if we treated each other fair. It's Lotso who made this place a pyramid and put himself on top. Toy Story 3 for the win. Good. Yeah,
the last good Toy Story film.
Yeah. Marcio Andrade says, how about the upcoming Mattelverse? Yeah, it's coming. Carrie D says, I loved Barbie as a kid. I refused to watch the movie. Barbie wasn't about manipulation and mean girl BS. I'm beyond tired of politics ruining everything. Aren't we all? Happy Jack Art says, Drinker, I made a very fun 60-second stop motion for Barbie and Terrifier being in theaters at the same time. Okay. I gotta see that. Justin Hudson says, people are attributing layers to Barbie because the 2001 reference, but that's not how it works. We assume layers from Kubrick, yes, but Greta Gerwig, nope. Yeah, it's a bold move. It's like putting yourself up there with 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I mean, it's not like having layers in your story means you're a very intelligent and worthwhile storyteller. You can have someone could be like, see that flaming hand I have over there, and someone's like, yeah, this is a flaming hand. You're like, no, it represents like communism. And you're like, huh? What? And then they're like, it also represents capitalism, and it represents all philosophy. And well, you're just like, okay, there's a lot of layers there, but none of them make any fucking sense.
Well, yeah, and it's, the layers have to be discernible for the audience. It's no good if the fucking director has to just spell them out. It's like, oh, this actually means this, and like nobody would get that because it's so fucking stupid and nonsensical. But it's also assuming that there is layers of deep hidden meaning to Barbie, and it's like, I don't really think there are. It's very straight up in terms of what it's trying to tell you.
I am inclined to agree with you. I think it's very straightforward in a lot of the stuff by being very straightforward in a lot of the stuff. Have you heard anything about what the Secret Invasion director's been saying, by the way?
No.
So one of the many things he said that's pissed off Marvel fans is someone asked him, like, what was it like, filming with Emilia Clarke and the guy who plays Gravik, bad guy in the show. And that's a pretty easy question to answer, right? You just say, oh, fun. They're fun lads doing fun. They're great actors, la la la. Just normal answer. But no, he said that it's fun acting with the doing stuff with them because you have your action scenes, which are mostly mechanical and mathematical almost, and then you have your emotional scenes. So it's great to film with them, like a funeral scene where they're saying all kinds of things about people they love, and you get really into the character. And then you get to an action scene, you're like, boom, 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 get it done, because there's not really much emotion in action. Just like, what?
I mean, well, it's an answer, I suppose. But yeah, okay.
And it's just like, did you just? Everyone's talking about, like, what is he talking about? Like, the most emotional things that happen in the MCU are oftentimes action scenes. And the way he said it was like, we have a job to do. We film the scenes. We move on. The emotions come out when you do the character scenes. You're like, oh.
I think, that kind of like hints at someone who doesn't care too much about the genre that they're working in.
No, he was even asked about Road. Do you know about the whole Road to Being a Scroll thing? We talked about that, didn't we? Yeah. He was like, yeah, some people are gonna have to go back and check all the stuff to see how well it fits in, I guess. It's like, you haven't then, obviously.
Yeah. Hope for the best.
Yep.
Marcio Andrade says, where's Doggo Ken? I'm sorry, we had a full open bar that night, and I just couldn't fit the critical doggo in. So yeah, he'll be on the next one though.
Yeah.
Blaze Stone says, I heard one of the hosts, Connor, on the Lotus Eater, say that Barbie is accidentally a conservative film, which he's coined conservativism. Thoughts? I have none on that one. I mean, like, this is, again, people seeing all kinds of, like, weird hidden meanings and layers to this movie, which I don't think really exist. Yeah, I mean, sure, look for what you want to see in it, I guess, but the movie's pretty upfront about what it wants you to think from it and what it wants you to take from it. I don't
It
know
does
why you
get.
think there's more hidden stuff behind it.
It's like the whole layers thing, right? It's like the character just says, "I fucking hate dragons," and then you go, "That person hates dragons," and they go, "No, they're supposed to represent people who do hate dragons," and thus the movie is saying those people are stupid. That person loves dragons. And you're like, I think it's more of a layered thing about how people who hate dragons actually do love them, but that we should hate them. And you're like, okay, what? What's happening?
The Inner Light says, will Barbie get a sequel where she brings the matriarchy to the real world? I mean, who knows where you could go with a story like this? You've already had the Ken revolution be put down, so I guess
Yeah.
that's the only place you can go. She's got to try and tackle everyday sexism in the real world. Sounds like a blast. Um, Cohen Timmerman says that's an interesting topic to make into a video. How the marketing worked so well. Yeah, I mean it's an interesting one. Like honestly,
Hmm.
from a business perspective, this movie was a piece of marketing genius. Papa Piker, sorry, says based Ken is purely headcanon arguments. They never show how he fought, and in the end, it was all for Barbie. Scott Pilgrim is a better character. Okay, yeah. Kyle Inc. says this movie is truly malicious. Women throughout history have always been able to enact and live out their motherhood, but they stole purpose in the mission from men. Women always have motherhood, men need purpose. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess so. Men also have fatherhood, I guess.
Yeah.
The Hidden Duck says, random question. If your superpower was that people can only tell the truth to you, who in Hollywood would you want to interview? Actors, directors, executives, your choice. Cheers.
Got to be the
Right.
highest up possible. They have to tell me the truth, and I want the people who know the most.
Okay.
Because the
I
thing
was
is
just
with an
going to say,
actor is, I think you're very likely to get very honest answers out of actors, especially as time goes on. Directors less so, but still. Producers even less so, but still. But like executive producer, director of the whole company, like CEOs, imagine they had to tell you the truth.
no, that's true. I was going to suggest as well, would you want to speak to Ryan Johnson and be like, what were you really trying to do with The Last Jedi?
Dude, what the fuck was that? That's all I want
Yeah.
to say.
Scarfy the Strange says, they bash men because they can't bash their bosses. Okay. Papa Piker says, I've counted it's not deep. I've countered it's not deep by asking if they'd say it to the director's face. Makes them acknowledge the creators put thought into it, the movie. Sorry, the the way this is structured is a bit weird, but
Mm-hmm.
so would we say that to the director's face? Like if we had Greta Gerwig on stream, would we say that it's not deep?
Um,
Sure. I mean, I would be interested to hear her explanation for how it is deep.
I've always found this
If
kind
that's
of
the case.
funny. Like the idea is like you wouldn't bring this further when you're talking to her directly. It's like I no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be as so aggressive if I was speaking to the director personally. I would probably have a very civil conversation unless she started throwing shade. And I'd be like, all right, let's go then if you want to. But if she was to be here, I'd be like, okay, what was the plan with this film? Can I please get it directly from you? What did you want the film to be? And then when she starts talking, I'll start asking questions. You know, perfectly civil and friendly. That's kind of the point, right? You don't want to be
Yeah.
a dick.
We don't need. Yeah, you shouldn't really. I guess that shouldn't be your opening gambit. No, it's like be nice until it's time to not be.
But you know, if she said, "Yeah, the film put you in your place," I'd be like, "Okay."
Like, Kevin O'Neill says, times like this, I'm grateful for my girlfriend, who is constantly complaining that feminists have ruined everything, how she hates working and she'd rather stay at home all day and cook and clean in nothing but an apron. Damn, man. Yeah, fair play. Julio Rangel says, some people love using big words. Unfortunately, they don't actually know the meaning of those words. Misogyny, fascist, socialist, hell, even capitalism. They're not that big, but yeah, they throw those words around quite a bit. Night Sky King says, hello to Drinker and guests. This is my first live open bar and super chat. I wanted to finish watching all the episodes before joining you live, but after 6 months I'm finally here. Cheers and thanks for the incredible content. I just realised I actually read that out the other night, so... But yeah, thanks for that, man. K-Rose says, this show is perfect background noise whilst I make a curry. Can I be Curry Ken, or is that racist? I have to think about these things as a white guy.
Be Curry Ken.
But always acknowledge your privilege.
Yeah.
Jan Javi says, Ryan knocked it out of the park as Ken. He was the best part and very cute. Those who love the movie love Ken. People who hate the movie love Ken. Everyone loves Ken. Ken will bring people together. I mean, yeah, I'll give Ryan Gosling his due. He was pretty funny as far as it goes. I think he gave it his best. Captain Haddock says, I think you were a little too hard on old Oppie. In a time when most big movies are dumbed down, uninspired garbage, the success of such a complex, challenging, and headstrong movie is heartwarming in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. This is the kind of movie I want to see dominating the cinemas. It's just, you know, when we were going through it, we were really just nitpicking to some extent, or just saying, like, this was good. It's just you could have tightened up this, or maybe you could have focused less on that, or whatever, and it would have made it even better. But yeah, damn, man, I'd watch Oppenheimer 100 times before I watch Barbie again. You know, it's just... Like, they couldn't be more different as movies, I suppose. And at least it's doing well. It's not, you know, it's not dominating the world, but it's doing a lot better than people expected. So that's some kind of consolation.
Get beat out Quantumania recently, so how about that?
Hey. Shaker Silver says, you're all confused at Barbie's messaging because you're not the target audience. They believe it sincerely despite how exaggerated and near satirical it was. I mean, I guess, but like... If the target audience is, say, millennial women or whatever, I refuse to believe that their brains are so fucking radically different from ours that, like, we would have completely different conceptions of what a good movie is.
Yeah, I mean, we said it earlier, I can review a film in the sense of, like, I don't agree with its points on whatever, but I can agree that it, like, executed it very well. And usually my metric for that is, what is the point the film is making and what are the events of the film and do they match? I don't think this film does. This film makes you very sympathetic to Ken. I don't know if they knew that. Because I think Ken's supposed to be learning a lesson in this film. He's supposed to be understanding where he's gone wrong. And for most of it, he's like doing nothing but being a very normal person who's, you know, adventuring.
Well, like as we said on the stream, like they've John Walkered him for this movie.
A little bit, yeah. That's definitely a phenomenon at this point. It's like, you're supposed to hate this guy. You better hate him. And you look at him and you're like, oh, he seems all right.
That would be probably an interesting subject for a video as well. Like when characters that become, you know, the audience inexplicably sides with because the writers have done a terrible job actually trying to make them into the villain that they thought they were. Papa Piker says, also in the ABC interview, Gerwig pulls a Kathleen Kennedy by saying, there's no story, despite 10 years of DVDs, Marvel Comics, and packaging details. Yeah, it's amazing. Dyrus says, Barbie 2, Ken's story, Brave New Malibu. Do it. Happy Nihilist. MJ Tanner has some really good vids on Barbie. Go. All right, I'll go and take a look. Jan Javi says, I think Prestige and Dark Knight are still Nolan's best, but Oppenheimer was also really good. Definitely need to watch it a second time, but loved it. I think you've not seen it yet.
Oppenheimer?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I will though.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to talk to you when you've seen it. Andrew Thetford says, Moa, could I hire you to do some quick voiceovers for a Dune RPG campaign I'm planning on running? A mentat explaining the history and situation of the setting, not on Arrakis, for the players.
I had a super chat recently on EFAB about voice work. I've just sort of shut it off as a sort of avenue just because I've barely been able to keep up with everything I want to do project-wise for like film, streaming, and videos and stuff. But I do like voice acting. It's fun. So I think for now, I'll just have to say probably not, especially because that sounds like, you know, and this is not a dig at the project itself or whatever it may be, but I probably have to do a lot, I assume, like, and I need to do multiple takes, and it's just, I've done voice projects before, they take a long time, which is, you know, good, because you want to get the bang for your bucks sort of thing with and you want the thing to be good. It's just that I don't know if I can give away that time. Certainly not right now. I've got the anniversary coming up and Spooktober coming up, which are always the busiest time of year for EFAP. So for now, probably not, but I might try and make some kind of avenue for that in future, because I wouldn't mind doing some voice work.
Cool. Axel's Abode says, what would Oppenheimer's box office be without Barbie? I genuinely don't know because I can't tell if like it's helping or hindering that movie.
People have said like the whole Barbenheimer meme like has helped Oppenheimer. I don't know.
Yeah. We posited this on Open Bar just a few days ago. It was like, I think if I had to guess, I'd say it probably has helped Oppenheimer. And it's a weird situation because I don't know how those films marry up in the slightest, but yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Like um Sam Wallace Art says, my brother wished the movie was just Trinity Project, but I concur with the guests. The interrogations into Oppie's hypocrisy was my favourite part. I really felt the interrogations and panic attack scenes. Loved Gary Oldman's cameo. Yeah, that was a good little cameo, that. And yeah, I mean, it's he's an interesting one, Oppenheimer, in this movie because, like I said on the live stream before, I felt like I never knew him as a character. You know, we get various moments in his life, defining moments, but I feel like I never quite understood his motivations for doing the things he did. He's still kind of an enigmatic character even by the end, so I presume that was a conscious choice.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's an interesting one if so. Night King 01 says people were making fun of the communism line that Emily Blunt gives in the movie. This was in the court transcripts, so I don't know why people are making fun of it. Okay. Um, Jay's Jay's Tiggle Bitties says Gary's next plushie should be Gary of Riverwalk since he lived in San Antonio. Miles the Husky says, hail the doggos, happy open bar day, lads, and hail. Thank you, my friend. Cheers.
Right. Yeah.
Night King 1 says, do you think the marketing was a bit misleading because they focused on the bomb when the main focus of the movie is on Oppenheimer and not the bomb? It is, yeah, and I think Christopher Nolan's an interesting one because I'm sure he has complete control over what goes into the trailers. And so it's only, you know, sometimes the problem you get with movies is the trailer spoils half the film because they show things from far too late on in the movie. I think Oppenheimer's very much, yeah, focused on the Trinity Project. And to be fair, yes, it's the exciting stuff because big things go boom.
Yeah.
So that's cool. But yeah, you do get a lot before and after it, and it's slightly misleading, I suppose. Perhaps not to the extent that Barbie was, but yeah. Sparks says Adam Sitch and Doomer's talk on Barbie was interesting. More, you could get some quality quotes from that. I nominate Doomer for lolcow status.
Like, I don't even know exactly what everyone has landed on for their opinions on this film. I just know that if you think the opinion on Barbie doesn't exist, a particular one, trust me, it does. We've got every one of them out there.
Senior Brightside says the Academy gained some legitimacy back last year with Everything Everywhere All at Once winning Best Picture. It loses it all if Barbie is given a nomination for the same category. I,
Probably will get
I
that
can't. We
nomination,
can't be
yeah.
living in a world where this wins an Oscar.
I think it's probably going to win one of something.
I mean, maybe I don't know, like best sound design or something.
Yeah,
perhaps,
something.
But,
I don't know if it'll get Best Picture. I don't know if it'll get nominated for Best Picture, but
I want
yeah.
Best Supporting Actor for Ryan Gosling.
Just don't rule it out.
Patriotic Cat says, "Can you dig it?" We can. Yes, we can. Party Arm CV says, "In real life, Truman thought Oppenheimer was cringe as fuck." I hope he used that terminology as well.
Yeah.
Like, damn, that guy was cringe as fuck, man. He did refer to him as a crybaby in the movie, which was fair. Melvin Deeply says, if two geniuses have sex, they probably have some kind of pulley system set up to make it more practical. Okay. Like less effort or something. Ken of the North says, about time Ken's got the respect that we deserve. Thanks, man. Taker610 says, Lord of Ring, Ken. I think that wins. I want to see that game. Intelligent Crayon Eater says, which would kill a boner faster, a cold shower, Phoebe Waller-Bridges' chin, or Grace Randolph's voice, and why? Well, imagine you had to take a cold shower with Phoebe Waller-Bridges' chin, and she was speaking with Grace Randolph's voice in that case.
Ultimate killer.
I mean, that voice is tough on the ears. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, yeah.
So, oh god, why? Was she always like this? Did she become like kind of a caricature over time?
Don't know. Don't want to know.
But yeah, none of those things are good. Put it that way. I'd take the cold shower actually.
Yeah.
Psychic Girl says, since Nolan is kind of bad at writing humans, do you think that Nolan could make a good movie about androids? Could do, actually, yeah.
Sure, why not? Yeah.
Thomas Goes says, Mola, is your gas mask to filter out all the Hollywood BS?
Sure, yeah. Toxicity out there, you know. Be careful.
Okay. I love this. The intelligent crayon eater guy has honestly sent us the same super chat. Like, let me see this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times the same one about Phoebe Waller-Bridge's chin.
Really wants that answered.
I mean, I think we answered it, so I guess we don't have to read each one of them out. You know.
All right.
Oh, there's 3 more.
Maybe there was a glitch or something. Huh?
That's 12. Shit. I hope you meant to do that, sir, and you didn't get charged like 12 times. Aloha Boy says, if the Barbie movie was rewritten and gender swapped to be like toy soldiers, then the people who love this movie would finally see why men are frustrated. Yeah, it'd be an interesting one. They would never let that happen, though. David Brown says, Drinker, I've watched your Expanse overview. Did you ever get to the end? I think it is so far ahead of so much now, it deserves so much more credit. Yeah, the final season I haven't seen yet. I heard slightly mixed things about it, but I was very much enjoying it up until that point. Yeah, really good sci-fi. I like that show. Troy Manser says, Shawshank Condemnation. That's a good one. Cannon Folderall says, Drinker, great show as usual. Good to see you spotlighting and promoting smaller YouTubers. Keep up the awesome work and cheers. Thank you, man. And yeah, it's nice to bring smaller channels on, give them a bit of a chance.
Actually had Jedi Brooks on for the Secret Invasion when he stayed for the 10 hours.
Damn. I always respect people that can do that.
Yeah,
that is impressive. Because yeah, Little Platoon came on with you guys, didn't he? He did about a 10-hour stint as well.
He's just straight up. There's no like, oh, you know, he's a trooper. He's just like a god of staying in for those things. He loves it. I think. Say that I'd be a long person myself, but even I'm like, you know, hey, once it hits 5 hours, you know, I wouldn't mind this having a break. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I just couldn't drink at the rate I do for like 8 hours or 10 hours. I'd just be dead by the end. Happy Nihilist says USA almost used incendiaris tied on bats instead of nukes, and then thanks to an accident while testing the bat bombs, we know they would have killed more people. Incendiaries, I think you were trying to say there. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I'm not sure how practical they would be in a war, but sure. Party CV says, gang, firmware update, yum. Okay.
Gang.
John Oakletree says, I think I like Fat Boy and Little Man better than Oppenheimer. Paul Newman plays the general and Barclay from Star Trek is Oppenheimer. Also can't believe that no one put former NHL goon player Sean Avery in this movie. Okay. Yeah, I remember Fat Boy and Little Man vaguely from back in the day. Was that a TV movie? I'm just going to check to see if it's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, oh yeah, John Cusack was in that as well because I remember he got like irradiated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like an accident during the process where like a guy got exposed to like they moved 2 bits of uranium too close together and it was like suddenly emitting like crazy amounts of radiation and he had to like jam his hand in and like throw it away to stop it like actually exploding, and died an extremely painful death. So yeah, not very nice. But yeah, it was a good movie. Unhinged says the Lord of the Kens trilogy, The Fellowship of the Ken, The Two Kens, and Return of the Ken. I'd pay to see that.
Oh yeah.
Taker 610 says Christopher Nolan's Tenet. That would probably be better than the actual Tenet. Blue Team Epsilon says Disney loves cultural vandalism. They do, and they're so good at it. That's the impressive thing. You know, it's good to do what you love. Scarify the Strange says Barb White and the Seven Kens. And who's watching Twisted Metal on Peacock? I haven't seen it, but yeah, a few people have recommended it to me, and I'm intrigued because I remember playing the Twisted Metal games back in the day on the PlayStation, and I really liked them. I have no idea how closely this sticks to it, but give it a try. Ion Carcass says, so if the character isn't Snow White and the story isn't Snow White, can we thus call it Castano Marron? Yeah, sure, go for it. Beard says, I was told that Barbie wasn't for me, but disliking Captain Marvel and everything post-Endgame means I'm not willing to embrace new ideas and concepts. Uh, yeah, you can't win. Pathkeeper says, my favourite part of Oppenheimer was how it showed the struggle between freedom of thought and security against the backdrop of the war and communism. Question for the panel, what theme was best developed in Oppenheimer? I mean, I guess I'll have to answer that since you've not seen it.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess because the movie doesn't go too far into the moral questions of whether or not they should have used the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's kind of very much taken out of Oppenheimer's hands, but the overarching question of like, oh my god, what kind of world have we created where nuclear weapons now exist? And now that we've proven it can be done, the Soviets are going to build them, we're going to build more, and it's just going to be an endless arms race. What have we unleashed with this? I think that is carried through very well throughout the film, and it's how it ends, really, the question of what the hell is what has he created as a scientist. So I did like that. John Oakletree says, of course being a woman is impossible when they can't even define what one is. Okay. Corroded Monkey says, I'd say imagine how bad Gal Gadot is at singing, but it's easy if you try. Good one. Very good. Gal Gadot's a lot of things, but a singer is not one of them, I'm afraid.
Maybe you'll be surprised.
Yeah, I probably won't be, though. Frog Club says, we was Kengs. That's a pretty good one. And Taker610, Avengers Ken Game. Another good one. The Moraine says, hail drinker for me and my friend Jim Beam. Can you tell me where are critical doggos? Once again, interesting panel, big and small. It shows we are all a community. I like that one. And yeah, the critical doggos were just, I couldn't fit them onto the open bar the other night because there was too many guests. Night King 1 says, speculating to how Cillian Murphy played Oppenheimer, I believe he was diagnosed with schizophrenia in real life, so I think that's why he is this way. It might well be. I know he suffered from bouts of depression throughout his life, particularly in his younger days. Like that, there's a part of the movie where he tries to poison his professor at Cambridge, and that actually really happened. He covered an apple in poison and left it on his desk, which is interesting.
It's not very nice.
It's not, no. Pathkeeper says, Keninator, the Barbie Chronicles. Nice. Beard, Barbie is a horoscope of a movie. It means anything. It can be anything to anyone. Hatching.
Yeah.
Big Ken and Little Barbie. That's a good one. I like that. Vinyl Morpheus. The lizard people are getting pretty overt with the pro-reptilian propaganda. Have Fury smooching the lizard or whatever. That's true. Alex Gold. How would you compare Oppenheimer to The Imitation Game? Two similar stories and both main characters used by their governments. I couldn't really because I don't think I've seen The Imitation Game.
I liked it. I thought it was pretty good.
So you've seen Imitation Game, I've seen Oppenheimer. Between us, we could not compare them because we can't exchange information like that. So, yeah, eventually we'll get both. Pavel Sevich says, hi, fellow Kens. Do you think that Amy Schumer apparently leaving the Barbie movie and putting out the message that it isn't feminist enough might have been a smart marketing stunt? I don't think that was a marketing stunt, and damn, if that wasn't feminist enough for her, I'd love to have seen what her movie could have been.
I'm sure it would have been great.
But it definitely wouldn't have made that kind of money. I know what audiences would rather see, and it's not Amy Schumer.
No.
So yeah, it definitely worked in the favor of the movie. Rashid Shadow says, JF Kennedy. Nice. Kevin O'Neill. Not if you're a Godzilla fan, but have you seen the teaser from -1? It's looking to be the Godzilla horror movie I've always wanted. It's just over 30 seconds long. Definitely worth a look. Yeah, I'm intrigued by this. Have you seen the trailer for it?
Yeah.
Because I think you could definitely frame that as a horror movie. There's lots of fun you could have with Godzilla. Monster horror. Logan Stugart says, Drinker, you're worried about hearing Gal Gadot sing, forgetting that we've already had Imagine There's No Heaven. Yeah, like we referenced that already. Yeah, it's just not a singer.
That was a mistake, wasn't
it? Yeah, in the great scheme of bad ideas, that's definitely up there. Dredge says, just found out I have a small brain tumor. If you have bad headaches, please get it checked out. God bless, lads. Shit, man. Well, I hope you're okay. Like, hope you get the treatment you need and you can make a full recovery, my friend. Brick Apple says, "Quick, everyone review your favorite movie as a movie reviewer from the Washington Post."
Um, what's like the meme with Washington Post reviewers?
I assume they're just like super progressive or something. Like, you know, if I was to do Big Trouble in Little China, for say, a toxically masculine white man who fails to recognize his privilege and sees himself as the center of the story, when in reality he's simply a sidekick and needs to learn to know his place.
I guess for prestige, it'd be like, this film expertly shows the damage white males do upon the world with their obsession and invention just for admiration.
And their magic.
White men and their magic.
White magic. Rashid Shadow says, "Strange New Ken, lower Kenix." Jamie Wilde says, "The Spy Who Loved Ken."
Right.
Zimio4, Moa, what were your overall thoughts on the Lego Skywalker saga? How does it compare to the complete saga? Also, are you going to play the new Amnesia game?
Yes, for Halloween, I'll play Amnesia the Bunker. As for the Lego stuff, I love the prequel trilogy, original trilogy, and then the bundle they made for them is pretty solid, like mechanically, and then it's just cute and fun. And they usually retell the story of Star Wars, but with like their own Lego spin. The new one that came out, the Skywalker Saga, I streamed it. You can find that on the my channel. If you scroll down to the plays and then look through the playlist, you'll find it in there. I was pretty disappointed because that game was fucking broken. It wasn't finished. And it was embarrassing and clearly like clunky as fuck. And I think on several occasions I glitched it so that I was like hard locked into the game, couldn't do anything. And I think it froze a couple times too. It's assuming it's better now, but that was a fucking terrible launch and a really empty game.
Sad. Yeah, doesn't sound good. Wailing Gecko says, "Hey all, I just wanted to say thank you, and you helped inspire me to make my own video essays. Thank you all so much, and cheers, Gecko." Excellent, man. Good luck to you, and hope it goes well. Boozy McShootster says, "I don't know what's worse, the characters being portrayed as a loser or the actor that's desperate enough for work to lower themselves to play the role." I think that was referencing Secret Invasion. Ethan Joseph Hall says, "Any thoughts on Crocodile Hunter Collusion Course?" No. I don't know what that is. Sorry. Rashid Shadow says, "Ken of Steel." Well, he's got abs of steel already, so it makes sense. Porch Bandit Media says, "The MCU Blip is the most disappointing nothing burger in storytelling history, and apocalyptic event pretty much equals some people were sad for a while."
They never should have done it. They should have just made the snap bring everyone back to the right time and place, and everything goes, undo Thanos' thing. Just make it that. It's whatever. It doesn't make much sense, but fuck it. Like, you don't have to ruin everything by constantly have everyone asking about the blip and that stupid celestial sticking out of Earth.
Oh, that fucking thing. Yeah, I bet they really
do that either.
But was part of that 5-year gap just to account for the sort of gradual like divergence of time? Like the MCU was set like increasingly far in the past because their timeline wasn't moving forward as quickly as things in the real world. Is that why they did it?
I assumed it was for the drama of like, we've got new things that have developed, obviously Tony's daughter and stuff, and then it's like, so maybe they thought at one point that would be what they would do because everyone's lives would have moved on. Like if we lived for 5 years with half of Earth being killed, and then we had a chance to rewind time and go back, I guess we'd probably say yes. But at the same time, in that 5 years, if you did have a kid with somebody, or if you did do this, that, and the other, like it all gets erased. It's like there's an interesting conundrum there, but the film barely, got to really talk about that either. I'd love to hear from like the people whose lives are ruined, what they think about the fact that the Avengers made that choice without concerning anybody. They didn't tell government or have a democratic process. They just did it themselves. They decided what's best for all of us.
Yeah, and presumably a lot of people died when the Earth's population was just suddenly restored back to existence. Like I don't know.
And there's no reason.
Like, what if you were in a plane, right, when you blipped out of existence and then you blipped back in and you were like 10,000 feet up in the air? Would you just fall to your death?
I mean, this is the thing. There are all kinds of questions because, like, cosmically speaking, the Earth is not going to be where it was when all that happened, and then all the way down to someone having heart surgery. It's like, so they're dead. That's just that. That's over. And I guess it's always going to be. It was magic, man. It was literal magic. So that means it's all on the Avengers, because they should have had Hulk be like, I want everyone to be returned safely on the ground in a, a space that's well kept, and that they will be, warm and happy and well fed and water and stuff. All this stuff. Instead, they just drop in. It's like, nice one, guys. And I love how arbitrary it is. It's like, we can't bring Black Widow back. It's like, why? No, we just can't.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, it's you
it was so awkward in the movie as well, because, and I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but normally things like that, when it's the death of a popular character and stuff, and you know that they're gone, it's just treated with finality. But instead, you've got Hawkeye, I think, just bitching about it right at the end, like at the funeral and stuff, going like, oh, well, there was this crazy Red Skull guy who said that we couldn't do this, and we had to do this to get the Power Stone, and like, if you can think of a better way, then I'm all ears. And it's like, you shouldn't be, at this point in the story, like, throwing all these questions in, and like this idea of like, you're still annoyed that it happened that way. Like, it has to be framed more as like an inevitable, necessary sacrifice that can't be undone.
Of many better ways. We've discussed all of them. It's annoying as fuck that the Avengers, they're like, we need to go to a time where all the stones are available. It's like, oh man, you should probably go to when Thanos arrived on Titan and work with the past Avengers and the current Avengers to just fucking kick his ass. Oh well.
Gav Mondo says Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ken's Ring. Ooh. Andrew Thetford says, wait. If the Skrulls were everywhere elevating Nick Fury, how did Hydra ever infiltrate S.H.I.E.L.D. and Fury not know about it?
This is something we talked about on the stream. It feels like the Skrulls would have been able to note that happening, but I guess not. Only enough that, is a stretch. There are like countless holes, though, that they don't give a shit about. They're just like, whatever. Fury's not a super spy. Fury didn't do anything that we told he didn't. Fucking Talos has this huge, like, speech to him about how he was a worthless, useless bench-warming agent in S.H.I.E.L.D. and, before Talos came along. And do you know what he ends the speech with, Drinker? Do you know what he says explicitly? He says, don't rewrite history, not while I'm here.
Oh, the irony.
Yeah.
J.S. Pena says, Gal is a better actress than Paris Hilton. That is a low benchmark.
Okay, yeah, sure.
She's a better actress than a rock. AJB Holsters says, Ken Atreides, Duncan, Idaho, Baron Harkonnen. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Ceteris Parabolus says, I'm more offended by the damage to War Machine.
Should be. That part was fucking annoying. Rhodey doesn't actually know Tony's dead, by the way.
Oh yeah, we dealt with that, didn't we?
Yeah.
We dealt with it more than the show did.
Mm-hmm.
AGB Holsters says, the Battle of Kendathu. Scott Castello says, and that's why I love Henry Cavill for pushing back against this stuff. Yep. Yeah. John McTernan says, cast an Asian and call it Snow Yellow. Okay. Silent Evil says, double feature idea, The Wind Rises and Oppenheimer. Ooh, that'd be good. Ceteris Parabolus says, codename Khaleesi coming soon to Disney Plus. Don't give them ideas. Dean's Half-Baked Productions says, happy Ken's Day, guys. Just enjoying the discussion. Thank you. And we enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
Titanic Tuna says, Captain Marvel can bleed. She did it for Ryan Kinno. What?
What?
I think that must be a deep piece of lore there. Stephen Gradecack says, Drinker, great to see the return of the Howie Scream to your reviews. Yeah, I've missed the Howie Scream. I'd kind of forgotten about it, so yeah. Someone mentioned it on I think an email or something. I was like, yeah, I need to bring that back. So I'm pleased with that. Wailing Gecko says, wasn't Civil War way before Secret Invasion? What the fuck?
Yes. Is it 15 years or something? I don't even know anymore because of the timeline, but I think the director said it's been 9 years since Civil War, or at least between this and Civil War, and that's how long Rhodey's been a Skrull. Cool.
Feeling Dangerous says 12 Angry Kens. Pooty Evans says, Mauler, so you're excited for Armor Wars then?
I'll probably check it out, because the MCU is kind of fascinating to me in a different way at this point. I even said about all the stuff they did in Secret Invasion. I was surprised. It's like, how could you be surprised? It's like, I don't know. I still am. Every time. I can't believe they're still doing this shit to all of those characters.
Alejandro Diaz says, I'm self-publishing on Amazon. Any tips for amateur writers? I don't really have any tips for like a self-published author because I've never done it. It's always been through traditional publishing houses. But I guess like my top tip would be you just have to sell yourself now, since there's not going to be a publicity team working for you. You've got to take every opportunity to get your name out there. Find book bloggers that might be interested in reviewing your books. Get it on social media. Just do everything you can to get yourself noticed because it's a tough market. There is a fuck ton of self-published authors out there now, and yeah, it's tough, difficult to stand out from the crowd. Dan Heistand says, for me, the MCU was concluded with Endgame. Whatever faults that movie has, it's gold compared to almost everything that's come after. Can't argue with that.
I would suggest Infinity War is the better ending, but it's fair enough.
Jack Attack says, can't wait for Barbenheimer, an unbridled Ken.
Maybe someday.
Genevieve says, who sings your intro? That is, I think his channel's called Guitar 84. And yeah, he approached me ages back saying, would you be interested in a theme song? And I said, yes, sir, I absolutely would. And he produced that just like off his own back, really. So yeah, really good stuff. And yeah, I think his channel's called Guitar 84. So if you want to check it out, I'm pretty sure it's there. Suedo Signs says, I suspect Barbenheimer was clever marketing. What's next? Snow Dune and the Seven Whites? Give it time. Titanic Tuna says, Joaquin Phoenix for Psycho Mantis. That's a good choice, actually. Shiny Giratina says, come on, David Hayter, my man. Maybe in a flashback to the ending for the old Metal Gear games where Solid Snake kills Venom. Snake. I mean, the thing is, David Hayter's pretty old now, so I don't think he could be playing Solid Snake anymore. The Cremando says, I now pronounce you Ken and Kenny. Thanks. Purple Thighs says, Metal Gear box art was just traced Michael Bain. That's true, it was, yeah. They used the picture, a publicity still of Michael Bain from Terminator 1, with his military gear on. And that was Metal Gear. David Jordan Navarro says, the Sisterhood of the Traveling Kens. So, the Mad Mercenary, that atom bomb did have a lot of kinetic energy. See what you did there? Shiny Giratina says, what did you think of Oppenheimer's soundtrack? It was very, very loud, but I think it was appropriate for what you were doing there. Yeah, sometimes it does sort of overshadow the dialogue, but I think it's less annoying than it was in Tenet. I think it was more of a conscious choice this time. Milo says, crucifixion isn't fast. It can take multiple days as you slowly asphyxiate because you can't breathe effectively. Your lungs slowly filling with your blood. Why is that?
Lungs filling with blood?
Yeah. I mean, I'm no expert. I've never been crucified before, so I wouldn't know. But
I've been crucified a few times, but yeah.
Yeah, I got better, I thought you would just, I don't know, starve to death or die of dehydration or something. Oh well. You'll learn something every day. My name Vittorio says, two of my favourite movies which I feel are underrated would be 13th Warrior and The Ghost in the Darkness. Yeah, I'm with you on 13th Warrior. I rewatched Ghost in the Darkness not that long ago. And I don't know if it holds up that well. I'll just say that. The cast is good, but especially because they have to like composite the lines in a lot of the time to do some of the action scenes, and it doesn't look great. Eugene Emik Dim says, hi, please, what's your assessment of Man of Steel? I love the fatherhood theme, but I sense you guys don't like the dark character of Clark. Also, can you recommend any movies on intimate partner violence? I'm not sure I can, actually, in terms of that.
Not a common genre, is it?
It's not something I go looking for, really, but yeah, with Man of Steel, yeah, I think you're probably right in that we don't really appreciate the sort of dark, somber, brooding version of Clark. His dad dies the most ridiculous death I think ever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did quite like General Zod. I quite liked him as a character. I like how the Kryptonians were more technological compared to, like, say, the Richard Donner version from back in the day. But yeah, it's so bleak and nihilistic and ugh. It's not really a fun movie, and yeah, the final battle just goes on forever, and it just gets kind of draining after a while. Like so much destruction, it just never stops.
Mm-hmm.
Feel free to add anything. I don't know. That's all I got.
Also, funnily enough, like famously, there's videos of it, but I'm not a fan of Man of Steel. Like pretty much as a whole, and the compliments you gave Zod, like I thought Zod was fucking retarded throughout the whole movie. I love that his intro and sort of gambit to Superman is to give him a vision where he's fucking drowning in a river of skulls, and it's just like,
oh yeah, God, I forgot about
gonna
that.
help, dude. Good job.
This will win him over.
And then, like,
hearts and minds, Zod, hearts and minds.
His welcome message, or rather his, hello message to Earth is that staticky, like, I'm Zod. It's just like, why are you doing that? You're a reasonable person. You know how things work. Why would you present yourself that way? It's also edgy and silly, and the whole like, where did you learn to trade? On a farm? Which is just I don't even know what to do with some of those lines. And yeah, I've never bought that. It was a difficult choice for Clark that he had to kill Zod to prevent him from killing people. It's just that fans don't want to see Superman doing that shit. It's pretty straightforward. I don't like the film. I don't like that Superman causes so much damage. I don't like Superman killing so many people with when he lasers the ship and it has all the embryos in it. That was fucking nuts. And I kind of hate it because it wasted what would have been a really good career for Henry Cavill as Superman.
Yep.
Oh well.
I cannot argue with that one. Goob says, will EFAP ever do another breakdown discussion of a classic movie? We'd love to see you guys discuss Alien. Maybe bring in Roger Alger of Collative Learning as a guest. Check out his analysis vids on The Thing and Alien.
Maybe.
Undead Exotitan says, hey, have you and Mahler heard of a game called Darktide? It's similar to L4D. I think it would be a great way to introduce Mahler to the 40k universe.
I think I've heard of it, but I haven't played it.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't played it myself. Fermented Cinema, and this was for $100 Canadian, so thank you very much. Says, Drinker, I've been following you since Game of Thrones. Thanks for the drunken bliss. Dude, cheers, man. I've been trying to get my take, Fermented Cinema, off the ground, but I've yet to tickle the algorithm. Please take this bribe. Friendly offer to check it out. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you. And I think we read that one out actually on the stream the other night, because I know it came in quite late in the day. But yeah, I'll take a look at your channel, Fermented Cinema, and see what it's like, man. Who knows? Maybe one day we can get you on Open Bar as well. Dai says, thoughts on the Warriors series that's on Max? I don't know because I haven't seen it. It's some kind of like remake of the Warriors, like the old 1970s movie. Not sure, but yeah, I haven't seen the series, I'm afraid. Brian Morrissey says, top 3 movies that would never get made today.
Well, Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder, yeah. Blazing Saddles.
Team America.
Airplane. It's like...
Well, there you go, we got 4.
Yeah, yeah. It's all comedies, interestingly. William Uzzle says, mentioning... MOTU, Masters of the Universe, the other day reminded me that Skeletor has one of the best villain monologues at the end of the movie. Kneel before Skeletor! Kneel! Yeah, the actor that played him really fucking went for it. I really respected that guy. He's a really famous one as well. Hold on. Because he played Nixon in Frost Nixon, and he was great in that too.
Oh yeah, Frank Langella.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, like, obviously you would never know it's him because he's buried under so much latex and stuff, but I really like how much he went for it as Skeletor. John Dorsey says, Snake, John Hamm, Revolver Ocelot, John Malkovich. Really? Otacon, Owen Wilson, Vulcan Raven, Dave Bautista, Psycho Mantis, Andy Serkis, Sniper Wolf, Kate Beckinsale, and Big Boss Vincent D'Onofrio. Okay. I mean, that's an eclectic cast right there, man. Sean Leader, this is for $50, says, do you think that Oppenheimer or Barbie would have done better in a different time period, like 5 or 10 years earlier? Oppenheimer, I don't think, no, because it's doing really well as is. And Barbie, well, I don't think they could ever have expected it to do better than it's doing right now. So no, I think
Yeah.
it's obviously worked. Whatever's going on right now, it's appealing to people. Logan Wood says the Prestige still remains supreme and actually has a human connection and incredible character development. It's probably why
I
Muller
am
appreciates it so
inclined
much.
to agree.
TGV Monster says Drinker and Muller. If you could make and produce a Resident Evil 1 movie, who would be in it? So who would we get as Chris and Jill, for example?
All right, who we got for Chris? What our options look like?
You
What
sort of need
age
a
would we be
big.
looking for? Be like, is it mid
Well,
30s?
I think in the original Resident Evil, he's probably late 20s. He's still like
Right.
him and Jill are like crazy young in that.
Well, you're more
See,
familiar with the game. Who do you want for like who? What
this is
kind of?
well, this is tricky, right? Because a lot of the actors that we've got now, like the guys who I don't know, that are really prolific that have come up from like the MCU and stuff, even they're like in their 40s now, so they're kind of aging out of stuff like this. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you could have had. Yeah, you could have Chris Evans perhaps playing Chris Redfield as a younger version, anyway. I think that might have worked. As for Jill Valentine, Scarlett Johansson could probably have played her. Who else? Who's the girl that was in Blade 3? Jessica Biel. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Jessica Biel, yeah. Might have had her, because she's really hot. And I think she played
Yeah, sure.
so, Albert Wesker, though. We need a proper villain.
Jeremy Irons.
Of a young Jeremy Irons? Yeah,
But it'd
I
be
guess.
funny, but I don't know if it's perfect. Like we could probably look around.
Yeah, it is tricky. It is tricky. Next one is Joe O'Donnell. Muller, you seriously prioritized seeing Barbie over Oppenheimer.
If you just think about it, you could figure out why that happened. Why do you think I saw that one and not the other? Just think about
it. Think real hard. Brendo Fire says, have you guys seen Eragon? Not Willow or Rings of Power, but still a terrible film. I
remember it being terrible, yeah.
I just heard bad things about it, so I was like, yeah, I don't want to see that. Satiris Parabolus says, worth mentioning Paramount sued their insurer to cover reshoots of MI7, so some of that 300 million got covered. Interesting. Why did they sue them?
Not sure.
Just to force them to pay for the reshoots, because that was part of their insurance policy, maybe. Jesus Davila gave us a thumbs up. Thanks. AJ Film Guy says, speaking of biopics, have any of you read Yeonmi Park's book about her escape from North Korea? If so, would you want to see it made into a movie? I mean, it sounds like interesting subject matter. I've not read it, but I'd see it. Undead Exotitan says, in regards to Dark Tide, it's a 4-player PvE game set in a hive city in 40k. It's loads of fun with friends. I'd love to see you guys stream it. Sounds good. And last but not least is Max G, who says, hey Drinker, first time writing in. One of my favourite films is Man on Fire, released in 2004. Have any of you seen it, and what are your thoughts? Love the channel and keep up the great work. Yeah, so Man on Fire is Denzel Washington, isn't it?
Yeah.
I keep getting that mixed up with, what's the other one he'd done? Like that action series. The
Equalizer?
Yeah, The Equalizer. For some reason I keep mixing them up in my head, but yeah. I thought it was really good in Man on Fire. Decent movie.
Yeah, no, I remember really liking it. I haven't seen it in a while though.
Aye, likewise. I can't believe it was 2004. Actually, didn't seem like that long ago. But that is the last of them. That's the last of the super chats. So thank you guys. You were incredibly generous the other night. That was a shit ton of them.
Yes, it was.
Hopefully we've answered them for you. But yeah, just as an FYI, there's not going to be an open bar the week ahead because I'm not going to be in the country. I've got to do some traveling. I'm going to go to see a bit of Rogue Elements getting made, so that should be fun.
Cool. That'll be the 3rd, yeah.
Yeah. So no, actually, the 6th. Oh no, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong month. My calendar's full. Yeah. So Thursday the 3rd, there will not be an open bar that week because I won't be here.
You know what? I can drop the Descent EFAT movies then, which has Drinker in it. That should suffice while we're we're off on a non-bar activity.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, check out on Molly's channel. Yeah,
Look,
we do have a little interview. Yeah. But that's, I guess that's us. So that's all we've got for today. So go away now.
Bye.